as the company owner, as the person where the buck stops, there needs to not only be introspection, but there needs to be analysis of each of your team members to make sure that you have leaders where you need leaders and you have managers where you have managers.
Yes, 100%, because there's room for both. There's nothing wrong with either. What becomes troublesome is if we try and be something that we're not. And then there's expectations for a leader when there needs to be a manager, because there's places for both. Also, I would say as a leader, like, your people are showing they're showing you who they are. If you're struggling with someone's output, if you're struggling, maybe it's something, maybe you didn't set clear expectations. Maybe you just really can't stand them and you probably shouldn't have, but just personality wise, you're like, wow, I should not have done this. Please make a decision and execute on the decision. Don't be long suffering, like put everyone out of their misery if that's the case. There's a Harvard Business Review. The article was like the most important attribute of a leader or CEO, and it was decisiveness. Because even if they make the wrong decision, they're able to make a decision. And they're able to say when they've made a bad decision or a good decision, right? And they're able to be decisive and change, and they don't have this long-suffering, ego-driven downfall. You know what I'm saying? So I think just making a decision, but they're showing you, like, it's okay to have made the wrong decision and the wrong hire. It's not, you're in full control. But your people, when they show up, they're showing up as them. Don't impart some sort of magical fairy dust. Like, they are showing you how, and if you're like, well, I like to micromanage and they really don't like it, well, they're not going to begin liking it. So as a leader, as a business owner, you are in control, and you need to be. And not like lead with a steel fist either, like be really kind. I have people that have worked for me for 14 years. So I feel like, there's room for all of it.
One thing that I've noticed in talking to you is a very high level of introspection, or maybe you haven't done a lot of introspection, but at the very least, you definitely know who you are. I don't think a lot of people have been forced to really try to understand who they are, what drives them, and whatnot. Perhaps that came from your religion, perhaps it came from someplace else, but to listeners out there, to business owners that perhaps haven't been in a position where they've really been forced to get to know who they are, what drives them, could you offer any advice or suggestions as to how they might do that, why it's important, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, thank you. This is my favorite thing to talk about, truly, because I think like knowing ourselves holistically, benefits everyone, including ourselves and the world. But introspection is just a discipline. Like, I want to keep short accounts with myself. When I don't want to get too far away from the way that I'm feeling, the way that I'm thinking, the way that I'm believing, and the way that I'm acting. So the Bible would say at heart, soul, mind, and strength. But it's really about your intellect. Like, what am I thinking about? What am I knowing in my belief, like my spirituality? What am I feeling in my emotional body? And then what am I actually doing? What am I feeling in my physical body? And how am I like living out of my body? So I think it's important to know that there are 4 parts of us, like I said, intellectual, spiritual, emotional, and then physical. But only one part of ourselves really shows up to ourselves, which is in our body. But all 3 of those other parts of ourselves are informing everything that we experience in our body. So as leaders, we have to understand that how I show up at work has nothing to do with maybe the level of sleep. Maybe it's, I got in a fight with my kids last night. Maybe it's, God, I feel really alone. I'm in grief. I have all of these. You just have to keep short accounts with all the parts of ourselves. What am I believing about myself today? What am I believing about my circumstance? What am I believing about the fact that I'm negative in my bank account and pay bills tomorrow? It's all of those things matter. And I think what we do is we disassociate and we just go, I'm just going to focus on the small tasks at work. I'm going to go and I'm going to grind it out. And all of the other parts of us are informing that physical expression of ourselves at work. So introspection is a discipline, I think, of just keeping short accounts. Like, I'm not afraid of what I'm feeling. I'm not afraid of what I'm believing. And they're not great things all the time. I'm human. I fall short every day, all the time. And so I think just forgetting myself, finding grace for myself, it helps me to be a more like well-rounded leader, like showing up to myself. So I just think the best way to do that, that's why I do it. And make a discipline of it. Check in with yourself every day on your way to work. Like, what am I thinking about today? And like, how do I feel about that today? Whatever I'm thinking about. Am I mad? Am I sad? Am I encouraged? So I think short accounts, just checking in with yourself and figuring out, and then you wind up modeling that. And then people want to be around you. They want to be around someone who knows who they are.
So perhaps there are some older gentlemen in my audience that would say to you, that is way too touchy-feely for me. I need to leave all those emotions at home or something along those lines. If they were so eloquent to make that statement directly, how would you respond?
Yeah, you should leave it at home. I'm saying process it at home. Touch into yourself. And I'm not saying going into the office and being like, listen, everyone, I'd like to talk to you about what I'm feeling. No, it's more check in with yourself at work or on your way to work, rather. Close the door if you feel frustrated. Like, get in the discipline of checking in with yourself. It's not okay to lose your temper. It's not okay to gossip. It's not okay to be whatever it is, to check in with yourself. Take your time, be disciplined. So touchy-feely is fine. If you don't want to be touchy-feely, then be masculine and be disciplined and shut the door and check in with yourself and don't let yourself lose control.